Right, welcome ladies and gents. Alec Baldwin has gotten off with one of the charges against them for the fatal shooting of Helena Hutchins in Rust. So we're going to dive into this. He's kind of doing what he did before, where he's just talking, and he shouldn't be talking as much as he is. It's classless. It's a real bad look. Makes him look like an arsehole. It makes him look like he has no remorse either. And I know loads of people will be like, well, why should he have remorse for his actions? It was an accident. Look, if I accidentally killed someone, I'd still have remorse for accidentally killing someone in that context. All right? So it makes him look like he's got no remorse at all. And is only out for himself. So dive into this today. Please do hit subscribe. I've been covering this extensively across the now, like 2 years that this has been going on for. It's been going on for a long time. This is into its second year. Anyway, I believe. So hit subscribe. Love to have you here more often. Let's dive into it. So again, just this is a headline. Alec Baldwin derides prosecution in Rust fatal shooting criminal case after successfully having charges downgraded. Just that as a headline alone, it makes him look like a bumhole. It just doesn't make it. It makes him look classless. All right. So Alec Baldwin and his legal team didn't have anything to say Monday when the Santa Fe DA dropped a disputed charge in the fatal Rust shooting. A criminal case that could have seen the actor behind bars for up to 5 years for the death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins. So taking a victory lap of sorts today, Baldwin and his big city attorneys, as a district attorney spokesperson termed them, now had a lot to say, with more than a few knocks on district attorney Mary Carmack Altwees and special prosecutor Andrea Reeb. This is what I mean. Classless, doesn't look good. In light of the government's concession that its decision to charge the enhancement was legally erroneous, the motion is now moot, said perhaps the most deferential lines in the February 20 filed notice of withdrawal from Baldwin's New York City-based Quinn Emanuel Urquhart and Sullivan. As set forth in the motion, the inclusion of the enhancement thus violated the ex post facto clauses of both the United States and New Mexico constitutions, the motion adds. So, it was obviously a major win for Baldwin that may determine the trajectory of the whole criminal case. Yesterday it came to light that on February 17th, New Mexico First Judicial DA Carmack Altwees removed the firearm enhancement to the involuntary manslaughter charges. So this is just, it's just a firearm element, basically. He could still go to prison. He's never going to go to prison, obviously. But it's not a huge win, you know? It's not a huge, it's just firearm enhancement. That's all it was. So if Baldwin or Rust armourer Hannah Gutierrez-Reed had been found guilty of that enhancement, then they could have faced a damning verdict and a mandatory 5 years state prison sentence. So, leaving the DA office's case looking weaker, or at least fumbled, that 5-year sentence is now off the table with a maximum of 18 months now as the primary prison time. The DA's office did not respond to a request for comment Tuesday on the barbed withdrawal motion from the defendant. So, the portion of this case, Baldwin and his lawyers pushed aggressively back on that sentence on February 10th, claiming that the prosecutors committed an unconstitutional and elementary legal error. Simply put, prosecutors were charging the actor, producer and Rust armourer Reed with a statute that didn't even exist in its present form at the time of October 21, 2021, which makes sense. That, sure, fine, whatever. That does make sense. I can understand that. So there's that. Okay, fine. Now, what's happening from here? Obviously, this is the first part of it. Baldwin no longer facing 5 years in prison, but he could still face 18 months. It's still a pretty hefty time that he could go to jail for. But it's just these kind of comments. In order to avoid further litigious distractions by Mr. Baldwin and his attorneys, the district attorney and the special prosecutor have removed the firearm enhancement to the involuntary manslaughter charges in the death of Helena Hutchins. Basically saying, look, you guys are wasting, this is from the DA, you guys are wasting time. You're talking like just you're wasting our time by doing this. To avoid that, let's just get it off the table and let's go forward. Well, it looks like he actually wants to pursue a trial. Basically, this is what legal experts are saying. After New Mexico prosecutors downgraded involuntary manslaughter charges against the actor, legal experts see Baldwin taking his case to a jury instead of accepting a plea deal. bold. Real bold claim. You know why that's a bold claim? Because you do have to be likeable. And Alec, mate, I hate to break it to you, you're a bit of an arsehole. And you're not very likeable. So that's a pretty bold thing for him to come out and do. Or if he goes to do it. Anyway. So less than 1 month after he was charged, Alec Baldwin has managed to slash 5 years off of his possible sentence and is awaiting a ruling on a motion to disqualify the special prosecutor. I don't think they're going to do that. They might do. They'll be dumb if they do, because that's on, like, political grounds. Super dumb. Now, with momentum on his side, Baldwin will likely take his case to a jury instead of accepting a plea deal if he's offered one, according to several legal experts consulted by The Hollywood Reporter. So Carmack Altwees, the district attorney who serves Santa Fe County, filed an amended complaint on Monday, downgrading the involuntary manslaughter charges against Baldwin and armourer Hannah Gutierrez-Reed. The move, which significantly reduced their possible prison time, came after lawyers for the actor and producer of the low-budget Western argued that their client was unconstitutionally charged. We've already covered this. It does make sense, but he can still face 18 months in prison, so it's not exactly a great deal. Now, James Brosnahan, who represented producers for The Crow when Brandon Lee was killed by a bullet on set, says that the inclusion of the enhancement was a big whopper mistake by the prosecution that will embolden Baldwin to vindicate himself at trial. His career is at the front of his mind, James Brosnahan explains. This isn't going to end in a plea. I still think that's really bold, Mr. Baldwin. You're emboldened with that bold claim, Baldwin. Anyway, John Anderson, a former US attorney for the District of New Mexico, agrees that prosecutors dropping the gun enhancement charge will push Baldwin to forego a plea agreement that will likely force him to admit culpability for holding the gun that killed Helena Hutchins when it discharged. He says, downgrading charges and decreasing exposure to the incarceration increases the likelihood that defendants stick to their guns and go to trial. Pun. Love it. So, it's interesting. It's interesting. It's really, really interesting. Yeah. So Brosnahan also continues and says it's a common knee-jerk strategy by prosecutors to add a gun enhancement to get people to agree to plead guilty to something less and get rid of a case through a plea. Now, Brosnahan notes that Baldwin likely hasn't been offered a deal yet and says what happens is that the defense has to tell their client that they can get hit or this. That instead of doing 3 years, they might do 8 if they don't plead guilty. So this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to get this completely off the table. And that's what, obviously, Carmack Altwees was attempting via legal experts. That's what their assessment is. Anyway, but it is interesting. You know, Alec's career has been damaged by defending himself in a highly irregular manner that was, at times, highly deluded and out of the Donald Trump School of Public Relations, says Eric Schiffer, chairman of crisis PR firm Management and Consultants. That's hilarious. He's being compared to Donald Trump because he hates Donald Trump. If he's found not guilty at trial, it would massively help him with the public who are only catching glimpses of scattered headlines. Most people just don't like him anyway. He's just an arsehole. So the jury in the case will have a problem with gross negligence, Brosnahan says. Where did he proceed into a known danger? The answer for the defence will be that he was told the gun was empty. But also there's the evidence that there was, you know, shooting after hours and a whole crew walked out. So why would you still walk into it? And never, you know, don't... I think it's important as well, right, is to keep in the forefront of your mind is that Americans are very on it with guns in general. I think people, you know, a jury is going to be like, well, but you should know gun safety as well. So there's that element that's involved in this, and I think people forget that. Now, Joshua Ritter, defense attorney and former LA prosecutor, predicts that the case ends in agreement in which Baldwin pleads guilty to a charge short of manslaughter and is given probation. So that's, I'd say that's probably a viable option. He's looking at prison time, and he was the one holding the gun in his hands. He doesn't want to put his fate in the hands of 12 jurors. I think it'd be really stupid of him to go to trial. Really, really, really stupid. As a matter of protocol, you don't make the announcement in advance. This has not been handled well by the District Attorney's Office at a number of levels. So they're trying to say that, well, there's some pig ignorance on the DA side of stuff, which may embolden Baldwin's case, or bolster Baldwin's case and embolden him. Too many bolds going on. But let me know what you guys think. To me, he still looks like an asshole. He still comes across classless, making like victory laps around this kind of stuff. It just doesn't look good in my eyes. And there'll be other people that think like me that could be on that jury, potential jury, if he goes to trial. So let me know what you think. Cheers, ladies and gents. Hit subscribe. Take care.